Hi folks, Gavin here from Player TV, and today I'm going to be taking a look at one of the latest motherboards from ASUS ROG Gamers, the Maximus 9 Code. Now this particular motherboard has ROG Armor, so like the formula, it has a full plethora of ROG Armor all the way across the board. It's cheaper than the Maximus 9 formula, which is worth noting. So obviously this particular board is focused on performance, gaming performance, and obviously overclocking performance as well. Is this the right motherboard for you, especially if you're looking for a Z270 chipset? Let's find out now in our video review. So, the new ASUS ROG Gamers Maximus 9 Code has support for the new Intel Kaby Lake processors, so the new i7 7700K is supported. It is the matching motherboard for this particular CPU type. It's obviously supports all the 7th generation Intel processors, but it also has backwards support for the Intel 6th generation, so Skylake is also supported. Obviously it's more optimized for Kaby Lake, but Skylake will work absolutely fine on it. So if you do fancy an upgrade to the Z270 platform and chipset, obviously that's the way to go. So, obviously taking a look at the board itself, this is the streamlined version of the, as I mentioned, the Maximus 9 formula. So you can get the ROG Armor and a lot of the features that the formula has. Obviously you don't get the water block from EK Water Blocks, but obviously you do pay extra for that. In terms of features, now this motherboard obviously follows in with the general theme that RGB is God. So obviously a lot of man points or brownie points to, or should I say brony points for all the rainbow coloured RGB lighting that ASUS are providing all their products. It's actually very good for customizability. A lot of people favour it because it allows them to change their build. Instead of changing the motherboard out, you know, a lot of the chipsets were green, blue, red. Obviously this is all black, black and grey, so obviously like a red would look great. Green would look great, and it allows you to customize it, so it's very good. Other features that this particular board has, especially with the Z270 and ASUS improving on the Z170 chipset, it also features ROG Supreme FX. It's been upgraded. The S1220 codec has been pushed onto this board for improved onboard audio, not just the rear panel on the back, but also front panel audio as well. It's got metal covered PCI slots, PCI Express slots. The two top x16 slots have this. This is to stop damage from sagging cards. When installation as well, people do tend to damage cards a lot. There was a lot of problems with flimsy motherboard PCI slots itself. Obviously with this particular board you ain't going to have any problems with that whatsoever. It comes with a massive software heavy feature set, the likes of clone drive, which is pretty much like Norton Ghost. You can clone your hard drive SSDs, your operating systems, and it'll work instantly. Likes of RAM cache, so you can use your memory. So obviously this particular board supports up to 64 gig of 4133 megahertz DDR4 memory. So obviously if you are going to cram it with 16 gig modules, you can use some of that as a RAM cache, which obviously assists the likes of your storage SSDs. You don't need any cache drives. RAM disk as well. ROG RAM disk is another bit of software that's included. You could run a particular game. So say you've got 64 gig of memory, your page file takes you set your page file to say maybe 4 or 8 gig, you can use 20 gig of that for, say, a particular game that you like or a program. It will load absolutely speedy, man. That's what you want. It's also got keyboard too. It's also got, obviously, automatic overclocking through the auto-tuning software. You can do that through the BIOS, or you can do it through the ASUS Suite utility. So, as I mentioned, it's got 2 PCI x16 slots which are metal covered. It's got 1 PCI x16 slot at the bottom if you're going to run it in SLI or Crossfire. It supports 3 graphics cards, but obviously some graphics cards have 2 cores on them, so you can run 4-way providing that you've got 2 cores and 1 card. It also has 3x1 slots, which is great for things like upgraded sound cards. I mean, obviously I would use this for the ASUS Zonar DX, D2X, or you can use likes of the STX2 Essence cards, which are absolutely fantastic, or your creative cards, but we're not going to talk about that. One other feature as well that is very, very, very good is it's got 2x M.2 ports. Now, you can run these in RAID 0, bearing in mind it will use bandwidth from different SATA ports, so the main PCI M.2 will take away from SATA 1. So bearing in mind, you have got 6 SATA ports itself for storage, 6 out of 6 gigabits a second, or obviously SATA 3 as it's more well known. And you can use that in RAID 1, and 0, 5 and 10, depending on what your preference is. And you need to use that obviously through Intel Rapid Storage utility. Bluetooth 4.1 support is obviously enabled via the back panel. It's integrated into the board as well as wireless networking. So this board is wireless, comes with the antennae, but obviously we're going to take a look at the accessories in a minute. It's also, to my delight, got an Ln2 mode. So via the header at the bottom you can change, obviously it should be at the bottom. Where have you gone, my little beauty? Anyway, it's featured on the board, so you can obviously put Ln2 mode, so if you want to pour Ln2 on it and go extreme, you can do so. Other notable features as well, it's got Rgb headers, so Rgb supported LED strips can be plugged directly into the board, and it will sync with the rest of the ASUS Aura compatible products, so likes of the, get it down off the shelf, the ASUS GTX 1060 Strix will obviously run with that no problem whatsoever. In terms of connectivity, in terms of obviously rear I/O, we have a BIOS flashback button, a CMOS reset, 2 wireless antennas for your wireless local area network, for your internet basically. We have, for the onboard, we've got a DisplayPort and a HDMI, so you can connect it directly up through the Intel HD graphics processor, which is built into the chip. Got 4 USB 2 sockets, we've got 4 USB 3.0 sockets, RJ45 Ethernet, we've got 2 USB 3.1, Type A and a Type C, and we've also got your rear audio as well through your 5 3.5mm connectors and your optical splitter fin. So yeah, the board itself looks absolutely phenomenal. It's got RGB. You've got the ROG Armor for a cheaper price than the Formula will have it. It's got fantastic specs. It looks brilliant. But I think it's time to see what's inside the box itself in terms of accessories. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look, we'll bench it, we'll run the performance testing, compare it against the other boards we've got for launch. These will add up in further reviews, and we'll see where we're at. So let's see what we've got inside the box then in terms of accessories. So we've got obviously the user guide, which is very good, especially since it's got an LED push. If you're having setup problems, this will help you along. We have a leaflet for cable mods, because cable mods, obviously LED strips are RGB compatible with the ASUS boards. Driver installation disc. Some lovely ROG cable labels as well. So if you want to keep your system looking fresh and you want to know what cables go where, you can do that with them cable. We've got a coaster. Inside the box, we have an absolutely blazing sticker pack. Absolutely fantastic. Do not disturb. Well, who wants to be disturbed during gaming? We have a delidded, well, we've got a CPU installation tool, which is fantastic if you're a delidder. We've got SATA cables galore. In fact, there's quite a lot of SATA cables in here. We have the awesome I/O shield, which, I'm a big fan of the ASUS I/O shield, especially on the Maximus boards. They do look fantastic. We have the wireless antenna adapter, which features 2 wireless, well, it does obviously feature 2 nodules where you plug it in, but it also sits perfectly on your desk. We have some, it looks like header cables for the RGB, We have the Q connector, which obviously I believe every motherboard should have one. ASUS seem to provide it, other brands don't. Also have what looks to be a backplate header. We have a high bandwidth SLI bridge, ASUS branded one obviously, and we have screws for M.2. So all in all, quite a heavy feature set. Now obviously the formula is compatible with the front OC panel and the front panel as well. We'll take a look at the test setup and then we will see if this reigns supreme. So yeah, we've benched it, we've run it on numerous tests, and it's clear that the code is a fantastic board. In terms of pricing, obviously pricing can differ on launch day, depending on the retailer. Obviously this particular board is 300, just over £300. £307 is the official launch price, RRP. Now obviously it does have ROG Armor, like the formula obviously has ROG Armor. The formula is a surplus of £500. So obviously this particular board is more accessible to enthusiasts and gamers, especially on a budget. Well, not on a budget of sorts, because £300 is a lot for a motherboard, but when you factor in all the features, all the software it comes with, how good it looks, the RGB, the overclocking capabilities of this particular board, you know, you're onto a winner. The price isn't a major factor here. It's a fantastic board, and the fact it's £200 cheaper than the formula, this particular board is an absolute winner. As I mentioned, and the ROG Armor does look great. RGB looks good as well. It's the same as pretty much all the ASUS Z170 RGB boards. They've continued that through the 270 range. One thing I will say, we have omitted overclocking results just based on the CPU sample we received. It's obviously at Player we do have a policy where we only overclock retail samples, and obviously being prior to launch, it's not a retail sample, so it's an engineering sample. So they do differ sometimes to retail samples. So when we do have a retail sample available, we will obviously start overclocking the Z270. But I did have this board at 5.1 gigahertz on an air cooler, so. And that was stable as well, that was bench stable, so, and that was on the code. So the Maximus 9 code isn't just a beauty, it's the absolute beast. If you're in the market for a new motherboard, a new chipset, make sure you look at Intel's Kaby Lake range. The i7 7700K is a good looking and good performing desktop processor. The perfect companion for that obviously is the Maximus 9 code. If you've got a couple of £100 to spend on a motherboard, then you're not going to be disappointed with this. It's got the looks, it's got the performance, it's got the style, and above all else, it's my beauty. I love it to bits. I would like to award the Maximus 9 code our Gold Award. It is a gold standard board. The only thing that I'm not too keen on is the bottom slot. It would be nice to have this armoured up as well, like the metal plating on the other two PCI 16 lanes. Other than that, it's a brilliant board. Everything's there, everything that you need. All the features are there. ASUS software is an absolute beast and a boss. The BIOS as well, the ASUS BIOS is my favourite. It is easy to use, so if you're a novice, you're a beginner, you're an enthusiast, you're an experienced overclocker, all the features and all the settings that you need are on the ASUS BIOS. Obviously, we used an early release BIOS. We do expect performance to increase as the launch day comes ahead. Obviously, it's launch day now, which is how you're watching the review. But yeah, so to top it off, upgraded audio, onboard audio, big plus. The looks, ROG Armor, big plus. All the features, the software included is a big plus. As I said, the only downfall to me is the bottom slot hasn't got the metal plating that the other two PCI slots have, but that's a very, very easy thing to omit, in all honesty. But yeah, I've been Gavin from Player TV. Hope you liked the video. Please leave a like, please leave a comment. And are you more likely to buy the code over the formula, or would you prefer the formula with the water block on the MOSFETs? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. Also, a big thanks to ASUS ROG Gamers for sending the Maximus 9 code in for review. This has been the Z270 ASUS ROG Maximus 9 core, such a mouthful, motherboard review. Thanks for watching, guys, and ciao for now.